to math class today. Today we are going to work on lesson 92, parentheses and using compatible numbers, part 1. So you will need your math book open to page 500. You will need a piece of paper and a pencil. Let's get started. All right, first things first, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about some of our words today that'll help us understand the math lesson. And our first word that we're going to take a look at is operations. Now, usually when we think of operations, we think of someone receiving an operation like in a hospital or a doctor. But for math's sake, operations is referring to addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. And in the problems that we're going to do today, it requires to do some of those, but more than just one at a time. We're using both of them. So that is why we call those things operations, where you're performing one or more mathematical type of procedure. Okay? So to solve some of the problems, we need to do that. And what we need to do is just like when you receive an operation at the doctor, they have to do more than one thing. We have to do more than one thing. But just like a doctor, when he does an operation, there are certain things that he has to do first before he goes on to the next things. Now, how do you know what to do first? Well, hopefully doctors know what they're doing. But when we're taking a look at math problem, we need to take a look at the parentheses. Parentheses tell us we need to do this first. When we do this operation first, this part, then we go on with the rest of the problem. So think of parentheses as like your stop sign saying, do this first, okay? All right, so let's take a look at this first one. And this is also for example 1 on page 500. So if you want to follow along, this is what I'm doing. It has 12 minus, and in parentheses, 6 minus 2. So we don't just go right across and say, okay, 12 minus 6 is 6, 6 minus 2 is 4. No, we don't want to do that. The parentheses is saying stop, do this first. So if I did that, 6 minus 2 is 4. Now I can go back and say 12 minus 4 equals 8. And that would be the answer to my problem. If I would have just gone from left to right, if I would have said 12 minus 6, okay, well, that's 6. 6 minus 2, that's 4. That would not have been correct because I'm not doing the operation the right way. I need to do parentheses first, okay? So then, let's take a look at number 2. Example 2 on page 500 says, which is greater? The parentheses 12 divided by 6 divided by 2, or 12 divided by, in parentheses, 6 divided by 2. Well, remember, parentheses first. So let's take a look. 12 divided by 6 is 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. Well, that's pretty small. Let's take a look. 12 divided by 6 divided by 2. Well, we got to do this first. 6 divided by 2 is 3. 12 divided by 3 is 4. It looks like this second one is our larger number. Okay, that's what is greater. So, just to review again, operations are multiple procedures, multiplication, division, addition. We're doing multiple procedures when we do our operation. In order to know which procedure to do first, we look for the parentheses. The parentheses show us what to do first, and then we do the rest of the problem. Okay? All right, so now we're going to go on to the second part of our math lesson. The second part of our math lesson has to do with compatible numbers. Now, when we say something is compatible, we say like, oh, look at they're so compatible, two people that work well together. Or something isn't compatible with your device, or it is compatible. That means it can work with what you have. They can work together very, very well. It's the same thing when we think about compatible numbers. Together, they're easy to work with. So when you're working with compatible numbers, and a lot of times, especially in sex and math, they're going to say, use compatible numbers to help you, use compatible numbers. It's like you need to try to find what are the numbers that you can add or do whatever together, use whatever operation they're requiring, but which ones work together the best, that you don't have to sit and figure it out for long periods of time, that maybe you can just do mental math, figure it out in your head first, okay? And the purpose of this is you're going to be using compatible numbers all the time. When you go to the store, when you're trying to figure something out, when you want to buy something, a lot of times you're not going to be able to do the exact numbers, but you can figure it out in your head by using compatible numbers. So for instance, I'm taking a look at example number 3 on page 501. It has 75 plus 80 plus 25. So if we take a look at that, now I could do this, I could put them all together vertically and do that. Yeah, that's fine. But what I'm going to do is, as far as compatible numbers go, 75, if I think about it, especially money, 75 cents plus 25 cents, well, that equals $1, right? Think of it, 4 quarters. So that's 100. Well, that's 100 plus 80, 180. So I use these two compatible numbers. Before I started adding, don't add right away. Look at numbers that are easier for you to add first and then move on. So then let's take a look at our next one. Jasmine has $8.79. She spent $4.24 at lunch. About how much money does Jasmine have left? Now remember, it's that key word, about. About means you're kind of providing an estimate, and we want to use compatible numbers to help us figure this out. So if I'm thinking money-wise, maybe what I could do is I could change this to $8.75. And I'm not adding, I'm subtracting. And then I could change this to $4.25. Because that's pretty close. And if I'm dealing with money, I could do that. Now, let's say I am not someone who does a good job with doing things horizontally. I can write this out vertically. So I'm going to change this to $8.75 minus $4.25. And that would equal $4.50, or about $4.50. So the point is that you're just trying to figure out numbers that work better together. Now, you notice I was only about 4 cents off here and 1 cent off here. You don't want to go too far because then your number is going to be too far off. So this was only a few cents off, so this would work. So now get your pencil ready and let's go through the examples on page 501. And let's do those together. So I'm taking a look at letter A. It has 12 minus 6 divided by 2. Well, what I'm going to write down is I'm going to put 12 minus, I'm going to figure out in my head the parentheses. So what is 6 divided by 2? 6 divided by 2 would be 3. So I write my 3 down. My answer would be 9. Remember, operations, multiple procedures. Which procedure do you do first? Wherever the parentheses are. So then we go to letter B. 12 minus 6 divided by 2. 12 minus 6 is 6. Divided by 2. Well, what times 2 equals 6? That would be 3. So then we go on to C. 12 divided by 6 minus 2. 6 minus 2 is 4. So I think what times 4 equals 12? That would be 3. And then finally for D, 12 divided by 6. What times 6 equals 12? That would be 2 minus 2 is 0. It's very important, 3rd grade, as you're doing these, look at what you're doing. Make sure, are you subtracting? Are you dividing? What are you doing? Don't just whip through this and say, oh, I got it. Because as you can see for all of these, the division sign and the subtraction sign are switched very often. So please take notice of that. All right, turn the page to 502. And let's take a look at letter E. So I think we need a little bit more room here. So let's take a look at letter E. It has compare 12 minus 6 minus 2. Well, remember our parentheses go first. 12 minus 6 is 6. 6 minus 2, that would be 4. And now I'm comparing that to 12 minus 6 minus 2, which is 4. And that would be 8. Clearly the 8 is bigger than the 4, and that's what we're going to write down. Now it says for F and G, first write the pairs of compatible numbers, then find the total. So for letter F, we have 30 plus 90 plus 110. Which two numbers can you add together the easiest that will help you figure out this problem? Now, our answers might be different, so I'm going to give you an option. I'm not saying that this is necessarily absolutely right for everybody, but this would work for some people. So for me, I would look at 90 and 110. So what they want you to do is write your pair of compatible numbers first. So I'm going to say 90 and 110. So why don't I add those together? Because that's 200. Now if you take a look, 90 plus 110 is 200 plus 30. I don't really need to add that. I can figure that out. Then my answer is going to be 230. So you can figure out your first two, do the operation that goes with that, and then do the rest in your head and write your answer. So now, let's take a look at G. G's a long one. So G, we have 2 plus 7 plus 3 plus 9 plus 1. All right away, I'm going to take a look at mine that add up to 10. So right away, we can do 7 plus 3, that would be 10. And then we could have 9 plus 1, that equals 10. And then we look at what's left. Well, if I got rid of 9 plus 1, 7 plus 3, all I have left is 2. So then I think 10 plus 10 is 20, plus 2 is 22. All right, finally our last one, letter H. Paulo. Paulo spilled the puzzle pieces on the playground. I don't know why he was playing with a puzzle on the playground, but that's okay. I guess Paulo has nothing else to do. So the puzzle had 800 pieces, but Paulo could only find 627. About how many puzzle pieces were lost? Write a subtraction number sentence using compatible numbers to find your answer. Well, 800 is a pretty round number, okay? So I think what we're going to do for our friend Paulo, who likes to play puzzles outside in the park, we have 800. He has 800 total, and he only could find 627. So that means what's left. So if what's left, then we need to put a subtraction sign. And rather than doing 627, maybe we could change it to a compatible number like 625. And according to this, Paulo lost about 175 pieces. I know another option might be someone else might want to change that to 630. That's also an option too, because you're not going to be that far off. Okay? So just to remind us, remember today we're working with operations. That means it's multiple procedures. Which procedure do you do first? You use the parentheses as your stop sign to tell you when to go first. And compatible numbers, you want to try to group numbers together that are easy to work with. So your assignment for tomorrow would be pages 502 to 503, numbers 1 through 20. I hope that you understand parentheses and compatible numbers. If you don't, please let me know and I'll be happy to help you. Thanks. Bye.